think we can get started. Want to encourage everyone to turn your cameras on because we're going to have this be interactive. Like we mentioned in our invites, this will be a little different than our previous webinars. We're going to go into breakout sessions after quick intro. So today's topic is on the fun idea of data governance. Like Greg mentioned, we are going to try to make it fun, but a lightweight version. So you have today, Bill, if you want to advance the slides.
All right.
Perhaps. This is our topic today. And then we have the host that you guys are used to if you've been to our other sessions, Greg, our VP of Sales, and Bill, our SVP of Strategy and Solutions. And then we also have David DiLorenzo, special guest. He is our COO. We have Julie Shulo on. She is our CEO. And Emilio Orocho is our Senior Director of Managed Services. So you'll see them identified with A2 in front of their name. So those are all the leaders of the different sessions today. So we're super excited for all of you to be here, and I will let Bill take it away.
All right. Yeah, I think just a quick introduction, right? Katrina said I'm Senior VP of Strategy and Solutions. One of the things that I'm working with clients on is governance, or at least pointing them in the right direction. So yeah, Greg and I had the idea to do this session a little bit differently, to have it be more interactive. And I think we're really trying to prove a point here that data governance doesn't have to be this big hairy thing that prevents you from getting on with your other data projects. So Greg, anything to add by way of introduction before we go to agenda?
No, I'm really excited for this session. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully people are interactive and we come up with some really good ideas from the crowd today.
Okay. All right, so this is the agenda for today. We're going to do intro and polls as usual. We're going to do a really quick review, some of the things that we've covered in previous sessions, just what is data governance, kind of 101 sort of stuff. That's like 5 minutes max. The majority of the time, we're going to break into working sessions, right? So we feel like we can delegate certain parts of putting together this data governance policy and plan, and we're going to prove that today. We're going to break into groups, we're going to hammer it out, and we're going to share everything that we come up with everyone at the end. You can take this and basically recreate this with your own associations and get started with governance. So after that, we're going to get everyone back together for a group recap. So hopefully we'll get some volunteers from the groups to recap what we learned in those sessions. Those are going to be short, 3 minutes each, right? So there's 5 parts. It'll be 15 minutes of recap. We'll wrap everything up with some key takeaways, and if any questions for the group, we'll take those at the end. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. And Greg will tell you a little bit about A2.
Sure. So if you're not familiar with us, Association Analytics is a company exclusively focused on helping associations love and better leverage their data. We provide a full suite of services, from integrations to cloud hosting to visualizations. And we also have a services team here that Emilio helps run on, that help organizations make better data-driven decisions using the data you already have at your fingertips. Whether it's clean, dirty, governed or not, we want to help you leverage it successfully.
All right, so as usual, we're going to start with the poll question, and not surprisingly, today's poll question is about data governance. And so I'm taking a little bit of a leap here and assuming that most people don't have a fully formed data governance plan, if you're a policy, rather, if you're on this call. So my question is, why not? Why doesn't your association have a data governance policy or program? There are a couple of choices there. We don't know how. It's too complicated. We don't have the right people, too busy, right? We may have the right people, but there's not enough resources to get it done, or maybe it's just too expensive. What do we think?
This is fun. We get to watch them coming in real time here.
Yeah.
It's not a priority for Evan.
Well, Evan, we're gonna fix that today.
We didn't give you that option. Good question.
Yeah, I thought I kind of thought it's not a priority. Crowd may not attend today's webinar. So, right. So,
pre-existing bias, though.
I'm having trouble making it other people's priority. Yeah. So that's yeah, maybe that's a not enough resources sort of thing. Who knows? All right. So let's So nobody said it was too expensive. That's interesting. So we have about a quarter are saying that we don't know how, it's too complicated. So we're gonna hopefully address some of that today. We don't have the right people, right? So we had around a quarter said that as well. Most of us, the majority of us, 70% said we're too busy and we don't have enough resources. So definitely going to kind of answer all of those things today. I think those are, I wouldn't go so far as to call them myths, but they're things that we hear a lot. And I'm hoping that we can sort of, put some of those aside and really show you that it's something that you can tackle, if you have the right perspective on it, right? Kind of like the dirty data thing. We did that a few months back, and we sort of kind of dispelled some of the common myths about dirty data and why that prevents you from moving forward with some of the things that you want to do with analytics. So remembering back to your answers about the best breakfast, the correct answer is, of course, waffles, right? And so Greg, why don't you get us started here? This is it was a bit of a stretch to come up with an acronym for all the reasons and all the things that we care about with regard to this approach that we're going to talk about today, but we gave it a shot, and I think this works.
I think it's waffles because it's workable, right? We often think about data governance as this multi-year, hundreds of meetings, 70-page document we have to produce. And I think what we're going to learn today is we can really get started on data governance, take the most important things and tackle them pretty quickly and easily. We don't have to let the perfect data governance policy get in the way of a good data governance policy. We're also going to learn that it's not the final say, right? When we create our data governance policy, it's a working document. It's a living document. We always have the ability to go back and say, we got that wrong, or we didn't even think about that initially, and we can always go update it. So as long as we at least give it a shot and get started on these 5 core areas, I think we've got a workable plan that we can easily put into action without too much effort. I think it can be affordable as well. There are certainly consultants that you can hire, and we work with those consultants. We are some of those consultants sometimes. And I'm not saying you shouldn't hire a consultant, but I don't think you have to do that as your first step. I definitely think you can say, here's a framework, let's start meeting together and let's get it done. And it can also be fast, right? You don't have to say, I need to be in every one of these meetings. Today, we've broken it up into 5 different groups, and we're going to tackle our area, but I don't necessarily need to know how Dilo tackled his area or how Bill tackled his area. As long as they present the insights that I need to know, we can really get through our initial pass through pretty quickly. We think we can do this all in an hour today. Whether we can or not, we'll find out. But we don't have to get it done in an hour. What if we spent a month working on this and we said, hey, we're going to meet once or twice a month, and as far down the road as we get in a month, that's what we're going to get. We're going to go with that as our plan. And then if we need to come back and revisit it, we can. But let's set ourselves some dates and try and stick to them. And it's also focused, right? We're going to learn today that there's a lot of questions we can spend hours talking about, but probably 80% of the important stuff is obvious, is right on the surface. So if we want to apply fast, let's think about that 80-20 rule and focused. That 80-20 rule, right? 80% of the stuff we're going to talk about is pretty easy, is simple. It's easy stuff to understand. Let's get started and document that. And then let's work that plan and then continue to evolve it over time. And it's light, like the delicious syrup on my waffles I choose to use in the morning.
All right. Yeah. So we're so just a few statements, right? And the framework that you can build on, right? So this is what we mean by lightweight. It doesn't have to be this big heavy document. Right. The E was the hardest one, right? Because we already said it was kind of workable and fast. So easy, you had to make the acronym out of it. But especially if you do delegate, it can be an easy thing to at least get started on. If you do manage to do that, getting a few people together, 2 or 3, is way easier than getting like a whole committee, like 10, 15 or more. So if you follow this framework, it can be easy. And I think we could have gone with waffle, but waffles makes a lot more sense, and who eats one waffle anyway? So it's also sticky, right? So especially if you do it in the context of, we put everything in the context of analytics, but it's really any data project that you're doing. If you do governance like this, it creates buy-in and it creates interest, and your participants are more likely to improve on and to maintain the plan, right? It's not some kind of academic lecture, right? And you need it to be that, because we're only really getting the first draft, right, as part of this framework. If you don't make it sticky, then they won't come back. They won't be looking to participate in the future. All right. So with that, we're going to do a really quick education. This is 101 level stuff, so I'm going to go through it fast. I think a lot of you on the call know these sorts of things already. But when we do data governance training with new clients, these are some of the things that we talk about. Common data challenges. That inefficient processes, lack of metrics, of course, strategy and governance, data quality, things like that. So every association faces these kinds of things, and many of them are kind of solved, or at least addressed, through data governance. And we're looking for outcomes, right? So improving efficiency, consistent, trusted data. We also want to improve performance. We want to grow revenue, and we want to drive strategy, right? So all of these are really important outcomes, and but nevertheless, a lot of us still don't really get as far down the road as we need to in governance. And I think one of the key takeaways for today, which we'll get to later, is that the governance piece doesn't have to be an obstacle to these things. It can almost be an opportunity, or like a quick win, right? We've talked about quick wins before, and it's almost like, how do I get a quick win so people can get interested in doing governance? But really, you can kind of turn that on its head a bit and look at governance itself as something that can be a quick win that moves you forward into other things that you want to do with data, right? So we're going to talk about there's a lot of terminology, and we're not going to be heavy on terminology, but with regard to certain things with data, we're going to talk about quality. So Greg's going to be leading a breakout room on quality. It's a point in time type metric. Is your data complete? Is it accurate? Is it consistent? So we'll spend some time on that. Data integrity and data security are things that are going to probably be mostly part of Dila's group, right? So we're looking at how well the accuracy and validity, consistency of data is maintained across the organization, different tools, different departments, things like that. And then risks related to your processes, human error, that kind of thing. So it'll be a lightweight and sort of high level approach to those things, but we'll talk about that. Data security, we talk about the physical protection of the data. This is permissions, privacy and confidentiality, authentication, things like that. There's data management and how that's different from data governance, but basically the governance is concerned with strategic decisions, practices, things like that. And the data management is more like the logistics and the tactics around the data. So if you get the high level, principles on paper, then fill it in with some of the details over time about how you want to actually manage the data. And then metadata, we probably won't get to that a lot today, but that's your information about the data. That's the kind of thing that would be in your data dictionary, right? Your not your term definitions, which Julie would talk about today, but your data dictionary, which is a little bit more technical document. Okay, so enough of that stuff. That's all of the wonky parts of data governance that we're going to cover today. Most of it is going to be related to these 5 kind of core topics or areas. So these what we think are the best way to sort of bucket out all of the key things that you should care about when you're putting together your data governance policy. And so we kind of borrowed this idea in some ways from what Emilio does with adoption. And the idea is that, look, you don't need to tackle the whole thing, but if you really just tackle the biggest part of these 5 areas, then that gets you most of the way there, right? And so those are quality, there are definitions, there's ownership of the data, there's the collection and the usage of the data, and then there's privacy and security. So the 5 work groups that we're going to have today, and you're going to be randomly assigned to one of those groups. So no experience is going to be necessary to go through this and answer some of the questions that we'll have for you there. And of course, 5 Ps, just for every data governance presentation has to have this. So kind of keep these kinds of things in the back of your mind when it comes to those 5 buckets. Think about what people are associated with it. What are the processes, and priorities maybe first, right? That's how we stay focused, because we're only going to look at the highest level priorities in each one of these areas. And of course, we're going to put together a policy. Like we're going to do it in real time. Like by the time we finish today, there's going to be, you know, the vast majority of a workable data governance policy and framework today. And then plan is kind of just really what it sounds like. It's how you plan on getting things done from there forward. We're going to go light on that because, you know, it's okay to kind of keep that informal. All right. So with that, we're now going to go to our breakout sessions. And here's kind of the ground rules for all of that. We're going to randomly assign you to a group. We're going to last for 20 minutes. Each one of those is going to focus on one of those 5 buckets. They're going to have 20% of our crowdsourced data governance framework in 20 minutes. The facilitator, or all of us with the blue backgrounds and the A2 in our names, will ask questions, and we're going to take notes. Really, all you guys have to do is answer some questions and give some thoughts based on experience in your association. And then we're going to share all that. And the result is going to be this sort of crowdsourced data governance policy. So good luck in your groups. Again, quality is going to be Greg Pollitt. Definitions will be Julie. I'm going to take the ownership team, the best one, of course. Amelia will have usage, and David DiLorenzo will head up the privacy and security group. So at
jackpot.
the end, yeah, right, there we go. At the end of that, we're going to get back together and share what we learned. And again, like I said, we'll be sharing out the results with everyone who attended after the call today.